and jump down all the way to the end of this chapter and read verse 46 and 47. Leviticus chapter 11, verse 46 and 47.
Leviticus 11 and 46. This is the law of the beasts, and of the fowl, and of every living creature that moveth in the waters, and upon every creature that creepeth upon the earth.
And the purpose of it is in verse 47.
To make a difference between the unclean and the clean, and between the beast that may be eaten and the beast that may not be eaten.
So it's letting you know right there what the purpose of this whole chapter is. The purpose of this chapter was to let you know the difference between the clean and the unclean, and the difference between the beast that may be eaten and the beast that may not be eaten. So I think that that's pretty much as clear as it can possibly get. So go right back up and start at verse 2.
All right. Leviticus 11 and 2. Speaking to the children of Israel, saying, these are the beasts which ye shall eat among all the beasts that are on the earth. Whatsoever parteth the hoof and is cloven-footed, and cheweth the cud among the beasts, that shall you eat.
So when it goes into the part in the hoof, cloven-footed, and cheweth the cud, a lot of people, especially if you grew up in the city and never saw animals in their natural environment, you know, like us city boys, we don't know what part in the hoof and chewing the cud and nothing of that meant until we came into the truth and somebody had to explain it to us. So what does it mean to part the hoof?
Three parts of the foot.
Well, you just know the three from the clothing. Yes, because the thing is, when you look at animals like goats and mountain goats and stuff like that, a lot of people, they just see the hoof and it looks like that's the foot, but they actually have toes. They have toes. That's the reason why they're able to climb the way they're able to climb. They can grip and they can climb and things like that. So they have cloven foot. They have the three toes. And the chew the cud, anybody on chew the cud?
Cud. And that's going into that multiple digestive system and how they ate their food, which involves them constant grinding with their rear teeth and regurgitating, swallowing and then regurgitating to grind again.
So what happens is when you look at animals that chew the cud, like cows and goats and things like that, they don't just eat the grass. Those animals have multiple stomachs. Some of those animals have about 3, 4, 5, 6 stomachs. So they can eat the grass. They chew it until it's like a glue or a slime. It goes into the stomach, they regurgitate it back up, they swallow it again, and it basically goes through a purifying process in their whole body. And that's how they get out of it everything that they need out of it. So there are animals that are cloven-footed, chew the cud. You had something to say?
Well, just that cud part. The cud is not the grass that they first chew. That cud is actually what comes back up, and and what they start. That's the cud, what comes back up. Just so you know, because aren't there are there unlawful animals that have that? Yeah. You know what I mean? So just the point about that cud and what that cud.
Well, they bring it out about the swine that is cloven-footed, but it doesn't chew the cud. That's what it was. So continue.
I'll read verse 3 again. Whatsoever parteth the hoof and is cloven-footed, and cheweth the cud among the beasts, that shall ye eat.
But since a lot of us don't know those animals by heart, what happens? The Most High does us the favor of actually listing them. Continue. Why you laughing?
You broke that way you bring it.
It's true. I mean, bro, if I walked up to somebody and said, what's lawful to eat and what's unlawful to eat, and they said, well, if it's cloven-footed, divides up and chews the cud, you can eat it. What would that answer mean to me?
Nothing.
It would mean absolutely nothing to me. Ask your son what it means. Exactly. What animal does that mean? See?
You better say cow.
and see, it's not just cow.
I know it's more than cow.
Because that's the thing. We teach about the dietary laws in the street, and people are like, well, if that's the case, you couldn't even eat anything. If I can't eat shrimp lobster, what can I eat? You can't eat nothing, you starve to death. People say that. Because they don't realize that the Most High made a world of lawful creatures for them.
A lot.
A world of them.
Right.
So continue.
11 and 4. Nevertheless, these shall ye not eat of them that chew the cud, or of them that divide the hoof, as the camel, because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof. he is unclean to you.
So that's one example that Kabal gave. There's an animal that actually chews the cud like a camel, but yet and still he doesn't have that divided hoof. The Most High said you cannot eat him. Now for some of y'all are like, well, who cares about camel, because that's not something that you're ever going to eat or even going to see here. But it goes on to talk about some things which are closer to home. Read.
Verse 5. And the coney, because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof, he is unclean to you.
What's a coney?
Rabbit.
It's in the hare family. Rabbit, hare, coney, they're all pretty much the same. So for the country folk out here, you know, a lot of people, they eat rabbit stew and all of that stuff. You could buy it in some supermarkets here. So it's not like it's the most foreign meat to have. You know, I got friends that from the South, they eat possum, they eat coon, they eat rabbit, they eat everything.
Squirrel.
They eat squirrels,
Yeah.
all of that. And you know, like Speck's father, that what they do is they go hunting coon all year round. They skin it, they clean it, they freeze it, then they have a barbecue like one day out of the year where they bring people all over and they have like, what, how many grills they said they have going?
3 or 4 big drums.
They have like 3 or 4 drums that are just nothing but 3 or 4 drums that are like nothing but coon, and then one other one that has a hog on it.
Yeah, they got coon, hog, and sometimes it's like a goat, maybe,
Yeah.
if that, but mostly it's the raccoons and the hog.
What's so funny? Huh?
No, we was thinking the same thing.
Coon fest.
Oh,
Funny.
horrible. Horrible.
All right,
Continue.
Leviticus chapter 11 and verse 5. And the coney, because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof, he is unclean unto you. And the hare, because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof, he is unclean unto
So
you.
the hare like a rabbit, and now for everybody's favorite, number 7,
Ooh, Lordy. And the swine.
and the swine.
And the swine, though he divide the hoof, and be cloven-footed, yet he cheweth not the cud, he is unclean unto you.
So, what's the problem with that chapter? A lot of people don't even know what a swine is. You tell people, listen, I don't eat swine. They say, they look at you like, okay, and they'll come and put ham hock right in front of your face. They'll give you pork, bacon, and everything, and you be like, I don't eat swine. They be like, that's bacon. I mean, we've had that happen so many times at restaurants where we tell people I don't eat swine, I don't eat pork. And they'll come right back and they'll put you a burger with bacon right across the top of it, or a salad, they got crumpled up bacon and stuff on it. You be looking at them like, we just said that we don't eat pork. Oh, but that's bacon.
Bacon is
They don't make the connection. It's like, you know what we're so far moved into an industrialized society that people don't make the connection of what the food comes from. If you tell them, listen, this steak comes from a cow and this ham comes from a pig, they think it comes from a store. You know, as far as they're concerned,
Just in the store.
as far as they're concerned, a machine might as well have made it. They don't understand. I mean, that's stuff you learn when you were a little kid. When you were a little kid in kindergarten, 1st grade and stuff, they teach you what? The 4 basic food groups. They teach you about the meat, the poultry, the dairy, all of those things like that. Don't they teach you that? Or do they still teach that in school, Qatar?
Yes.
I don't even think they teach grammar in school anymore. So.
I mean, but it was a time when you knew what comes from what.
Yeah.
You see the eggs and know it came from a chicken. You see this, you know it came from that. They don't even do that anymore. So that's why it's hard for people to make the connection when you tell them what's written in Leviticus chapter 11, verse 7. Read it again.
And the swine, though he divide the hoof and be cloven-footed, yet he cheweth not the cud, he is unclean to you.
So it's letting you know he has a divided hoof. But what does a pig eat? He eats anything. He eats garbage. He eats chicken.
Yeah.
So the thing is letting you know that he doesn't chew the cud, and because he doesn't have that property about him, the Lord said he's not fit for us to eat. Period.
And it's funny because even if you go to the store and you see the pig feet in the jar, sometimes if they don't like mangle it up when they slaughter the pig or whatever, you can actually see how it talks about being cloven-footed.
Yeah, you can
and
see
what it looks like.
Old pig feet will be,
Yeah.
it just appeared just like that.
And verse 8.
Verse 8, of their flesh shall ye not eat, and their carcass shall ye not touch, they are unclean unto you.
So you couldn't even eat them, you couldn't touch them or anything, they were unclean.
The hinds.
And even when you look at how the dietary laws affect our life, people always say the same thing. They be like, okay, even my brother, what is the line? Oh, I don't see how the dietary laws are going to affect my salvation, or I don't see that the Lord is going to punish me for eating this type of food and things like that. People don't understand the punishment fits the crime.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And you sit there and you eating your ham hocks, your pork chops, your chitlins and things like that. You don't have to look for a lightning bolt to come falling down from heaven, but you do have to check your blood pressure. You do have to check for heart disease. You do have to check for all those other things which the doctors are going to tell you are going to happen to you before eating those things. I mean, perfect example. Think about my mother. I told her about the dietary laws for many years, and she wasn't keeping it. Guess what? She had a triple bypass. She had a triple bypass. They cut her open, opened her up like a bird, cut the arteries up, did a triple bypass on her. She's alive and well, all praises. But some things that she had to change right away was there were certain things that she could no longer eat ever again. So the doctor had to explain to her what she can eat. They told her you can eat fish. You know, we already know the lawful fish that you can eat. They told her you can have chicken cutlets, nothing fried, nothing with the skin. You can even have steak. But they said, you know, have steak, but it was but keep the pieces no bigger than the palm of your hand, about the size of a deck of cards in thickness. They said pork, never.
Damn.
They told her, this is a doctor. Pork, listen, pork, never. Because they were like, because even if you get the leanest slices you can get, it's still all fat. And that's a doctor telling them. But what's the problem? The problem is you won't listen when Leviticus tells you this. You won't listen when the Most High tells you this. But you'll listen after it hits the fan, after you're in the hospital, after you got about 5 or 6 preventable diseases going on in your body at the time. Now everybody wants to listen, but they'll listen to the doctor, but they don't want to listen to the Lord. And see, the thing is, it's even easier to deal with foolishness when you're younger because your body is so resilient that you fight it off. But you turn around 30 years old in an old man body and you don't know why. Don't know why. Now let's get to the water.
Can I make a distinction in verse 8? Actually, just to get some clarification. Because he says, of their flesh shall ye not eat, and their carcass shall ye not touch, they are unclean to you. So that's not talking about the pig just being alive, walking around doing his thing. This is talking about his flesh and his dead body.
Right.
Okay.
After he's dead.
After it's dead.
Right.
Okay.
Verse 9.
These shall ye eat of all that are in the waters, whatsoever hath fins and scales in the waters, in the seas and in the rivers, them shall ye eat.
So you look at that, now it's letting you know in the rivers, in the seas, in the oceans, if you're looking at an animal that comes out of the water, it's letting you know what it has to have if you're going to eat it. Because there are people that will grab a shell out the water, pop it open and suck snot out of it and talk about his food. Talking about oysters and clams and you gonna put it on.
It's good for my libido.
You gonna put it on a cracker. They talk about they talk about it's good for your libido. It's gonna increase your sex drive and sperm count and stuff like that. All that foolishness. And the same thing with the Chinese stuff. Oh well, octopus is an aphrodisiac.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
You look at that, it's foolishness.
Yeah.
So let's read verse 9 again.
These shall ye eat of all that are in the waters, whatsoever hath fins and scales in the waters, in the seas and in the rivers, them shall ye eat.
Continue.
And all that have not fins and scales in the seas and in the rivers, of all that move in the waters, and of any living thing that is in the waters, they shall be an abomination unto you.
So everything in the water that does not have fins and scales is an abomination.
Long list.
So oysters, clams, crab cakes, shrimp, lobster, shark,
Octopus.
dolphin. All of those things that people, all of those things, yeah, crawfish, the mud bugs, crayfish, all of those things.
Crayfish? Yeah. That's what they are.
It's a freshwater lobster.
All of those things that people are eating. You go to the supermarket and you look at them, they call them crustaceans. It's just a big old roach just walking around in a tank. People take that out. I mean, I'll tell you like this. Me being the city boy I am, the first time I came to the South and I saw people cooking crabs, I thought I was in a horror movie. I think that was probably one of the scariest things I ever saw in my life.
They dump them in the
And you know me, they're like, oh, they're in the house cooking crab right now. I'm like, cooking crabs? I'm thinking it's like in the oven or something. No, they got a boil it. So I came in the house. I thought they might have been in aliens or something, because the thing is, they had this big pot on the top of the stove, boiling over. And they were taking them and they were alive, dumping them in there, and they screamed like, oh,
They really do.
they
scream.
The crabs.
Crab screen.
The crabs.
Crab scream.
The crabs.
Actually put some on top of the bucket.
Yeah.
From
Jump
the
down,
top,
try to jump out.
so they won't jump out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That mean they scream like women. They say, and then after they scream,
He's not exaggerating.
then you can see like the top, their little claws start popping out of the top. I mean, I promise you, I'm not making this up.
Exactly.
The claws start popping out of the top like this, they snapping. Then they jump. They tell them, would you tell them they jump out the pot?
They will.
They jump. So here it is. I'm in there. I'm crying. I'm like, look at that. So it jumped out the pot. I mean, it just said jump like boy, it's light.
Yeah,
Hit the floor and started.
They will take
So
off.
it took over, and they're grabbing these things off the floor and throwing them back in the water.
pot, yeah.
I mean, I didn't even have to know the dietary laws back then. All I knew is that thing is a monster. And
So you gotta eat something you actually fought
yes.
with. You fought with
Yes.
Yeah, bro.
Listen, man, when I was in Charleston, they stand in the middle of the lagoon and watch they read the tide by the moon. They read the tide. You go out there and the water's like right here. You get a fish bone, a chicken bone. You get a chicken bone tied to a string and a stick, and you drop that in there, which either you can have a net under there or whatever. And as the tide goes out, the water goes down, you can actually see them. And you actually standing in the river or the ocean or whatever, and you just scooping them up. They grab a chicken bone, and you just jerk them out, put them in your basket, and put your chicken stick. And as soon as you put it in, they grab onto it, you get a bunch of them. Wow. Yep, and sometimes they don't clean, I mean, you can't clean a crab. That's the thing about these dietary laws, the stuff he's telling us to eat. You can't clean abominations, you can't clean filth. So they take them right out of the ocean, whereas you would think you clean some chicken after you defeathered it or whatever.
Just boil it.
They just put them joints right in the water, and anything that they've had that was in that ocean or river or lake, it's not a lake, but whatever, they eating it.
And I think you told me you could talk about the restaurants where they be pulling the worms out.
I used to work in a restaurant, so when they ask for the oysters, I don't know how they call it, but they take the oysters, and the first time I saw them make it, I couldn't believe it. They crack the shell open.
Yep.
It's all that gooey, snot-looking stuff like you said, and then inside there's worms. So they just pluck the worms out, set the oysters on ice, slide it on out.
Get out of here! If
You
you go
ain't
to
no
a nice
washing it,
restaurant,
there's no putting it in fire, nothing. And then the next thing you see is people at the table.
And they feel rich and sophisticated.
That's
Charles good time in Japan.
That's just like I was watching a TV show, Bizarre Food.
Yeah.
Dude went out there, they caught cunt and everything. They
Yeah.
and they just
That's what he said.
poked it out. They just poked it out, sliced it up, and just started eating.
Yeah.
Or even like catfish.
listen.
You fishing for catfish.
Just like the brother was saying, when, being from Carolina in the coast, you see all of that stuff. So they would go oyster hunting. They call it oyster hunting. And they just stack right on top of one another. Literally. You go out there and you get like a handful of them. And then people will actually take them while they're out there. They might have a fire or something going. They would take them. Some people would roast them or whatever.
Yeah.
But most people, you take them right out of the water with a knife. With a knife. You got a little, what they call a pocket knife. You pop that thing open and you boop. And the so-called manly thing to do, seriously, the manly thing to do is to eat it raw with maybe butter or hot sauce. And that's it.
People would sit on the side of the lake in certain lakes and actually scoop them out. And I'm talking about
just
like
like the show back
almost 1,000 years ago. They would do that over there in Europe. They do it just like that, sit on lakes, and they have their knife and they cut them and scoop them out just like that.
Right. So back to 11 and 9.
Leviticus chapter 11 and verse 9. These shall ye eat of all that are in the waters. Whatsoever hath fins and scales in the waters, in the seas, and in the rivers, them shall ye eat. And all that have not fins and scales in the seas, and in the rivers, of all that moveth in the waters, and of any living thing which is in the waters, they shall be an abomination unto you.
Continue.
They shall even be an abomination unto you. You said it twice.
Yeah.
Ye shall not eat of their flesh, but ye shall have their carcasses in abomination.
And verse 12.
Whatsoever hath no fins nor scales in the waters, that shall be an abomination unto you.
So how many times?
5 times.
They tell you over and over and over, don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. But do people still do it?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's Christ, man. That's the problem.
Yeah, they do. He said they do it 5 times more.
That's true.
He told them not to do it 5 times. He said they do it 5 times more.
That's the truth.
Hey, that's how it,
Oh man. But does that answer the question?
Charlie don't look at another crab.
You know, I see it all the time. My family eat it. You know, so
Mine
it's
too.
like,
Sure.
Mine too.
you could tell them anything, and you'd be like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Dip it in the mud.
That's you. I'm gonna have
I mean, it just don't have no effect at all.
And it's same with my job. You know, I don't eat pork. Oh, pork? You don't eat pork?
You're Muslim.
You know, you eat anything else, it's still gonna kill you the same way as the
That's
pork.
what they say. Yeah.
Well, chicken is a dirty animal too.
You ever seen a chicken? You know what a chicken eat?
That's what you tell them.
Yes, Andrew.
I remember.
Settle.
I remember when I was when I was working at the grocery store, and this guy, I was working with him for years. So he came up to me and said, you know, I've been noticing you ever since because he worked in the seafood department. And he said, ever since I've been watching you, you've been, you only buy a certain type of fish, you don't buy this type of fish.
Wow.
And I said, well,
You've been
actually,
paying attention, huh?
yeah, so I said, you know, I keep the dietary law in Leviticus 11. I follow the Bible. You know, I don't eat shellfish or crabs. So he just started like, okay. And I just said, hey man, we don't eat no pork either. And he just looked at me. He kept on walking.
I mean, hey.
But
they don't
months
want-
later,
Yes.
but I just threw that pork thing in there because I
To get him. You get that last little bit.
But months later, he came at me again, and he said, "Hey man, I gotta stop. I went to the doctor and I gotta stop eating that pork. You were right about that."
But what the doctor got to say?
To the white man to tell him.
Yeah.
The doctor got to say. That's how it always is.
Remind me of
That wasn't as crazy as my other dietary law story.
No, we're done. We're done. We're done.
That's who we going to and complain about. Oh, there's a natural disaster. Katrina, you didn't get here fast enough. Well, it was the Lord that brought the natural disaster. The scriptures tell you the Lord has his way in the whirlwind. Matter of fact, let's go to Amos 3. Because the scriptures tell you if there's destruction in the city, it's the Lord that's bringing it. So, it's Bush. Bush didn't come quick enough. Why is Bush going to come quick to his enemies? He's not coming to you. He's not coming to help you. That's why the Lord said, our people, we're simple, man. Because the power that we're supposed to go to, the person who we were supposed to go to pray to and look to for answers, we don't go to him. We don't go to him. We don't want to follow that Bible. No. That's gonna mess up my fun time. That Bible's boring. You know, I wanna have fun. I wanna go out and party. I wanna go out and have sex. I wanna go out and do all these things. No, I don't wanna deal with my neighbor right. Nah, forget him, man. He did me wrong. He cut me. I'ma cut him. That's how we do. We just add evil to evil. We render evil for evil. So read that, Amos 3. And there you go.
Shall a trumpet be blown in the city, and the people not be afraid? Shall there be evil in the city, and the Lord have not done it?
Oh, not my Jesus. That's what people say, not my Jesus. You got to read Revelations when Jesus come again. Is he going to come handing out all day suckers and flowers? He going to come like the candy man? No. He going to come, and in righteousness, he's going to judge and make war. And they telling you, oh, God ain't going to judge.